Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to TP Talks. In a business environment where partnering with third parties is prolific and growing, how can organizations create a framework where innovation and collaboration thrive, resulting in service outcomes and value alignment? Today, we'll find out how. I'm Amit Shankadas, Executive Vice President at Teleperformance, responsible for market engagement, help align market needs to teleperformance services. And I'm honored to be joined by Daniel Mendes-Costabel. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you very much. First thing, thank you, Amit, and the whole Teleperformance team for inviting me to be part of today's conversation. Vested outsourcing is definitely an important subject for us here in Microsoft, so really happy to be here with you today.
Thank you. And by way of quick introduction, if I may, Daniel, I'm going to read a little snippet of your bio. Your background is a lot richer than I can encapsulate in few words. But Daniel, as you can see, he leads the delivery partner management, innovation, and incubation within Microsoft Customer Experience and Success organization. His team has global responsibility for finding, testing, and implementing new ways of driving customer experiences with selected delivery partners in support of Microsoft's mission to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And I think we'll see how they bring that to life today. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. You will notice that there is a resource widget to your left. There's several links here. Please feel free to click on the links. There's some really cool resources for you to be able to download. This session is created to be highly interactive. So you will see at the bottom of your screen, you can submit questions. Feel free to do so. We'll pick them up as we go through this session. If you have a question, if you have any need for help, click on the little question mark icon. And if you'd like to reach us, you can click on the email icon. So what is TP Talks? TP Talks is a series of bite-sized webinars designed to help you as curators of your customer experience. You learn from best practices, big trends, innovations, real-world success stories from people just like you. We focus on pressing topics, which is why we're talking about vested sourcing today. A little bit about Teleperformance, your host for today's webcast. Teleperformance is an agile business service provider to many brands across the world and help them in their digital transformation process. We manage billions of interactions for our clients, but more importantly, serve as strategic partners, and I underscore the word strategic partners, to some of the world's leading brands by delivering these digitally integrated business services. Through our platform, we help make interactions simpler, faster, safer, and more cost-effective for our clients. What's particularly of interest is that we do this with a platform where we provide, actually, in fact, over 87% of our people work in an organization that's recognized as a best employer, which is hugely important because in a business where you're dealing with humans and interaction with humans, that human connection is hugely important. And I think that's another concept we'll talk a little bit about in today's conversation with Danielle. We're also recognized by corporate social responsibility organizations like Verigo and certainly industry analysts. But enough about Teleperformance. Let's get right to the meat of this TP Talks. And Danielle, maybe first and foremost, I know I gave that brief introduction to you, but can you maybe give the audience a sense of what you really do?
Absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity. So, hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Mendes-Costabel. I'm based in USA, in sunny Florida, having working for Microsoft since 1996. And currently, I'm part of the organization we call Customer Experience and Success, where I lead a team of people with focus on innovation and incubation for some of the services that we deliver. In our broad customer experience and success organization, we manage more than 80 million interactions with customers a year. We deliver customer service and technical support interactions, broadly defined, for all products and technologies here at Microsoft. So from people playing with their Xbox console to corporations and governments using Azure, Office 365, or small businesses managing their productivity with Dynamics and everything in between, our organization interacts with Microsoft customers and partners hundreds of thousands of times a day. And now that I mentioned partners, let me talk for a minute about a very special type of partner for us here in Microsoft, what we call our delivery partners. Delivery partners for us are these companies who provide services supporting those millions of interactions with our customers, BPOs, if you wanna call it that way, across the globe, who provide their expertise and services to us, managing interactions with our customers. We work closely to provide great experiences to our customers, and Teleperformance is one of the largest delivery partners of our ecosystem, and one with whom we have a partnership that is very special to me personally. I have been connected to Teleperformance organization for more than 15 years already, and I have witnessed how we can do together more for our customers and ecosystems. And I think that at the end of the day, how we do more for our customers and ecosystems is exactly the concept of vested outsourcing for us here today.
So Daniel, to that point about doing more for customers and ecosystems being the communities we operate in, being the globe, actually, the global, the whole globe. We were talking about this just a little before, about how we're so interconnected. You know, let's start with this concept of how do you, about creating alignment for shared value outcomes. And you and Microsoft certainly, and you have personally been a big proponent of this. Give us a little bit of color as to how you look at this when you work with these partners.
Yeah. So let's go back to a couple of definitions, right? Main concept, right? Vested outsourcing for us goes in the direction of broader connection. Let me talk about that concept for a while. Broader connection to the success of every party in that conversation, right? The delivery partner and Microsoft in this case. What we call a shared value mindset is basically the starting point. And when you look at our corporate values in Microsoft, I don't know how familiar many of you may be with this, but our corporate values in Microsoft are respect, integrity, and accountability. And you can see right there a clear connection with the Teleperformance corporate values, integrity, respect, already two matches there, professionalism, innovation, and I think that the last one is commitment, which I think very close to accountability in our case, right? So today, I hope that we can share more about how we effectively transform that connection. And again, we land some of those concepts into some things that we can do together. That mindset, those strategic definitions into a reality that drives impact at our communities. And as you were saying, Amit, the concept of community there is not just, our employees. It's definitely broader than that. It's about the network of everybody that is involved, but it also goes beyond that, right? We talk about people that we support in every country, in every market where we are lucky to be able to be doing business, and again, driving, helping people to be able to do more. So that's the basic understanding and the basis for the understanding of what we call vested outsourcing, and for some of the practices that I hope that I'm going to be able to showcase to you guys today, starting with this one that we call Digital Skills Initiative, which I think is the next step in our conversation, right, Amit?
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So, we have this concept, and let's now get into the real specifics, because we always like to drive through actionable insights that our audience can take from these TP Talks. Let's talk about the Digital Skills Initiative, because it's a huge initiative that I think when we were having this conversation, we both agreed really manifests the importance of, by the way, the importance of all companies and their responsibilities to communities, but also manifests this concept of vested, where we are obviously working and collaborating on business outcomes, right? That's a given. You've got to achieve service outcomes, and then how do you align on culture and value outcomes? And that's what we'll talk about. So maybe you can start with explaining what is the Digital Skills. What's the program, and then let's talk about, from there we'll get into how we make both, bringing this to life. So maybe a little bit about the initiative.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before going into tactical details, because for us, it's super important to understand that digital skills starts from the highest possible level, which is basically our corporate mission, right? As you were saying, to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, right? As part of that mission, we have long been committed to closing the skills and opportunity gap, helping everyone to gain the skills, the knowledge, the opportunity to succeed, especially in the context of the digital economy. And we do this because as a major global technology company that we are in Microsoft, we recognize that, as you can see in the slide, when your technology changes the world, in the words of our president, Brad Smith, then you bear a responsibility to help address the world that you have helped create and accept greater responsibility for the future. So it all starts there. Now, what is the landing of all of these concepts into our work with Teleperformance, and especially this digital skills initiative? Well, this is where I want to tell you about the initiative that we launched in June 2020, more than half a year ago, where we have found a great opportunity to amplify its impact in partnership with Teleperformance and some of the other delivery partners that are part of our ecosystem. So let me go straight into the digital skills initiative. As you all know, we all have been, during the last year, experimenting a very different reality. The COVID-19 pandemic has made an already wide skills gap exponentially wider, right? The impacts of the pandemic are disproportionately affecting the very same communities that we are trying to reach and support for decades, right? Those unreached or underserved by technology and people who are in the most vulnerable communities, right? So in our Microsoft view, and let me be super straightforward with this, we must do more and we must do it faster. And that's where digital skills launch in June 2020 comes forward. Key facts that are compelling us to act. COVID-19 crisis has created a global economic crisis, forcing tens of millions of people out of work. The jobs that are coming back or that will come back will definitely look different for people. Different skills will be required. And this is number three, intensifying the skilling challenge for individual and employers, right? Because there is a different skill set, and at the same time, for many people, it's very difficult to get trained to achieve that skill set because, well, they are isolated, they are trapped into a lockdown, or many other variances that are being managed at a global level. So our response and our goal, help 25 million job seekers worldwide to gain new skills for a more digital economy. In a phrase, that's the Digital Skills Initiative, where we are working to give people the opportunity to learn those new skills that allow them to find and be successful in a new job role. Digital skills can help people build better opportunities for themselves, their families, and their communities. And at a tactical level, what we have done is we have identified 10 learning paths for in-demand jobs, and we are providing those learning paths, the definition, the content, the training that is available to become proficient in each one of them. And second step, ways to identify jobs opportunities related to those 10 learning paths. And then third step, apply and be successful to get one of those job opportunities to, again, 25 million people. People can use the information and the tools to first learn the digital skills, search and apply for jobs, and finally, even at a tactical level, prepare for interviews. We are working with a broad ecosystem of governments, of local NGOs, delivery partners, as in this case with Teleperformance. There is not just something that we can do alone, that's for sure. And in fact, just sharing also a little bit of what's happening in the background, right? We are not the only ones going in this direction. You may have also heard about some other companies. Google has been also doing a really good job on creating similar programs. And again, I think that that's the concept of the shared vested values that we are trying to explore together. This initiative, summarizing is available for free through our LinkedIn properties for people to go and just use it, making the information and training available, helping people to find the job opportunities, and supporting them to land those opportunities. That's what we are doing with the Digital Skills Initiative.
Yeah. And, Daniel, what's really interesting is the point you made earlier around reskilling and retooling individuals, right? So this is just as important as for, unfortunately, individuals that have been displaced out of opportunities in the recent past because of the pandemic, but also folks that are looking to reskill and retool for new talents. I know in our organization, and this happens one at a time, but there's this individual who we were looking to put in a business analyst role, right? And as I understand, there was a path for in the Digital Skills Initiative around a business analyst. So you're an individual can say, okay, here's where I want to go. How can I get the tools and skills I want? So it helps in both. I think an initiative like this helps people reskill and retool that are in a place where they need to find a different opportunity altogether, and also helps with ongoing career growth. This particular case was internal, right? But I think we talked about this. It particularly for folks that are working at home more and more, and there's more and more of this happening. I know from our perspective, it gets offered to every one of our work at home employees, right? And even in the recruiting effort where we find an individual that might not have the skill, and I love this concept. How many times we find candidates that have the will but not the skill, and you say, let's find a tool to give them the skill, right?
Yeah, and especially at this time, right, where, again, a lot of people have been impacted in a negative manner, right? And for them, it's even increasingly difficult, right? Because, again, some opportunities may not be available. The traditional career path, when you are so disconnected, it becomes even more difficult, right? So that's why we try to take a broad approach with digital skills. And let me just quote the list of roles that we have included in there, right? Software developer, sales representative, project manager, IT administrator, customer service specialist, digital marketer, IT support, help desk, data analyst, financial analyst, and graphic designer. That's, definitely when you think about that, and when you go to some of those resources that we are publishing, you will see that we are also adding in there for people to consider, if you're facing that decision on what to do next because you have been impacted, well, there is relevant information in there also in terms of the size of the market opportunity. And you see that, I don't know, let me use the biggest one, software developer. Currently, considering the information that we see going through LinkedIn, there are more than 22, almost 23 million jobs opportunities being explored and being asked by different companies at a worldwide level. And I think that's an important concept too, right? Digital skills is definitely not about us in Microsoft specifically, hiring 25 million people. Yeah, that's definitely not. We are at 150,000 people, employees at a global scale. We are definitely trying to go beyond that, even when we think about teleperformance, right? If I remember correctly, you guys are right now 330,000 people company, so it's definitely beyond that. I think that when you reach the right potential for the conversation is when you think about the network, right? When you think about yours 330,000 employees and you start thinking about, okay, what about their families and friends and the people that are part of their local ecosystems, right? And then you start multiplying those numbers tens of times or whatever. And that's the true scope, because when you think about that, I'm pretty sure that people in those ecosystems, in those networks are suffering because some of these conditions. So for them to access those resources, for them to leverage those roles and those skill sets and find those job opportunities, that's the true nature of the conversation behind digital skills. And that's also the true nature of the conversation of partnership between Microsoft and Teleperformance, right? How we work together to make sure that we amplify that. And I think that you guys in Teleperformance, you have been very, not only actively driving that conversation, which I definitely appreciate, but finding right ways to make sure that you communicate. You can also help leveraging some of the opportunities that you have for employment. And you also use some of these resources, as you were saying, Amit, for people development, right? I mean, you may have representatives working in a certain role today, and they may be interested on, well, you know what? I want to become a project manager at a certain time in my life. It's part of my career development. Perfectly fine. Take advantage of those opportunities, keep developing yourself. And again, with free resources, you have the opportunity to even gain a certificate that you can, post with your profile and help people and organizations at a global scale to realize that, this person is proficient in these roles. And when you look at the curricula, which is behind each one of the roles, you can definitely understand how that curricula may help you assessing the right level of skills of those people.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, Daniel. On the screen, people might be able to see MyTP, which is our internal platform, and it gives an opportunity for learning and development of individuals, right? Because, and by the way, globally, this is the beauty of it is in the environment we're in today, you can be sitting anywhere in any part of the world and take advantage of this. And it's fantastic for our people, certainly, which is why we promote it very extensively, but all internally, but also externally. I think you're exactly right. Again, it's fantastic for others within a community that we all work in to be able to take advantage of it. So I think this is where that collaboration piece kicks in, right? It's obviously a very smart initiative. It's a sensible initiative, but it's one where how can we take it and make more of it, not just for ourselves as a provider, but for the community. And I love the outcomes of it because, education is such an important piece for all of us. We start at a young age, but it should never stop, right? And in the world we live in, we got to keep ourselves upskilled and trained. I want to switch gears.
And the other thing that I will definitely add there before we jump into a different subject is that it also creates a different kind of relationship with your own people and with their networks. And I cannot tell you exactly how many, but I can tell you that I have been really lucky to be able to see the results of people leveraging these resources in your organization and in other delivery partners' organization. And what I witness is that the quality of the connection that they feel, the appreciation that they feel, the reflection of that involvement of their own networks and their own families in the job that they have becomes definitely much more intense. And I was having the conversation the other day with some people in your team, Amit, and they were also, saying things like, we are seeing that because some of these conversations and people using some of the resources, we definitely have a higher expectation for being able to keep people even better connected. Even the level of loyalty that we see coming from those people is also definitely enhanced. So I think that it creates definitely a very beneficial conversation from many different levels.
That's a great segue into our the next piece of this, because it's about creating that human connection for individuals too, right? And the other piece that I'd love for you to share and for us to talk about is around responsible, let's call it responsible sources, impact sourcing, excuse me. Many years ago, Microsoft introduced this to Verigo, and as a provider now for 7 years, we've been certified on all 5 aspects of Verigo, and it's hugely important for us. Now it's become core to our DNA. I know it's core to Microsoft's DNA, but this is where I think, initiatives that align and create that human connection, not just for people that are within our organizations individually, but collectively and in the communities, becomes really interesting. And you folks do a lot in this space, Danielle.
Yeah, and there are multiple initiatives. Probably you have also heard about our carbon footprint commitment
Yes.
that we are also working in partnership with you. Most people may have heard about our individual company commitment, but many people may not know that in fact we are working in close partnership with many partners in the ecosystem, and Teleperformance is definitely one of the active ones on sharing some of those goals for carbon footprint reduction and making sure that we are conscious about the impact that we are creating at those levels too, right? So you start thinking about, okay, what is the underlying concept? And I think that this is a great segue for the whole conversation about vested outsourcing, right? Many of these initiatives, somebody was telling me a couple of weeks ago, well, when I think about the work that we do, right, and we try to drive great experiences to our customers from a traditional, customer service, technical support approach, right? And somebody was asking me, what's the connection, right? Because a lot of these things, the carbon footprint or the digital skills initiative or some of the other ones, it's what's the connection, right? And I always say, well, that's exactly the point, right? What we see is that driving these initiatives help us all expanding the connection and expanding the work that we do and the impact that we create, right? And let me summarize a couple of things that I think are important, especially for people when they think about, okay, how you tactically translate some of these things, right? What are the key factors, right? Do I have, in my organization, some of these initiatives? To me, one of the key factors is relationship between our companies, between our organizations. Mm-hmm. You need to define the resources and the value for having this strategic, broader conversation. If we didn't have, in our case, the space to have this conversation, the confidence to have this conversation, we could just continue working with Teleperformance on managing operations and KPIs and transactional things, and that's great. But initiatives such as digital skills, carbon footprint reduction, show the opportunity for expanding our joint impact when we can expand the conversation. So relationship, you definitely need to have the right relationship. You need to have the right people and the resources to make sure that you expand the conversation. That's point number one for me. The second one is, in my personal case, pushing the envelope on how we do business together. For most people, let me go back a little bit to the intro, right? When I was saying I run innovation and incubation, right? And for most people, innovation is about new technologies, new channels, new experiences with your customers. That's definitely part of it. In my work with Teleperformance, we have been able to expand that into this area of collaboration, which is pretty innovative in a very broad sense. And it's helping me, it's helping my team to envision new opportunities to collaborate beyond the traditional BPO outsourcing approach, which to me is really the concept of vested outsourcing. And finally, a broader point that I want to make. All this info and resources, if you're part of this conversation today, if you're hearing our thoughts in this conversation today, all this information, the Digital Skills Initiative, all these resources I have been mentioning, all of this is available for everyone at a global level. Teleperformance has been super supportive, and we are really thankful because we think that we can do more together. And I want to also make sure that everyone today understands that you can also leverage those resources for you, for your own organizations, and your partnership with Teleperformance at the same time. Please, if you ask me what will be a good action item, go ahead, use the links that we are providing here, take a look. Feel free to reach to me, to your Teleperformance team, or just go ahead and leverage it as training, hiring, or your own efforts to support communities at global scale at these times.
Yeah, and to remind everybody, the links are in the resource widget, I believe on the left or the right of your screen. I might have my left and right wrong, but it is definitely in the resource widget there. We have several questions coming in. I've been remiss to not pay attention to them. So let me hit you with a couple of them real quick. And I'll paraphrase this. Sharing culture is very important. It's great. This allows companies to work together for the greater good of society. Do you also find that vested sourcing provides benefits in performance and economics?
I would definitely say yes, because it helps the people in each one of the organizations to be better connected, to also be better motivated, to go beyond the transactional nature of the service. What I was mentioning earlier about witnessing myself, how people feel better and are able to really create a deeper connection with each one of our organizations, and how that deeper connection translates into better services to our customers, I think is definitely a win-win situation there.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to conclude this, about a win-win situation, not just from a business perspective, but also from a societal perspective. Danielle, thank you so much for your willingness to share your thoughts, provide some insights. I'm sure that the audience that has been listening to this will understand that there are some very practical and real ways to make these win-win relationships work. To underscore Danielle's point again, please look at the links in the resource widget. We had to jump through questions real quick because we are running out of time. We had such an engaging conversation, I was able to pull in one. But for those questions we weren't able to get to, we will respond to them after the session. Not a problem. We'll send a communication. There's other such TP Talks to listen to and participate in, so feel free to download this along with others. Will be available for yourself and others in your organizations to view later. Once again, Danielle, thank you so very much for your willingness to share, for your openness and candidness, and also very much for the partnership that our companies enjoy. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you. That's the most important concept. Thanks to Teleperformance and to all of you witnessing this conversation today. As a global community, I think that we can do a lot more together. So really glad to be part of the conversation and really glad to support and help anybody.
Excellent. And for everybody on the TP Talks, have a great day and see you at the next TP Talks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Danielle.